All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Benolio. I'm the president of Number Cruncher, the makers of Order Time. We're happy to provide this webinar series about the update that occurred last Thursday night. And just like any other updates, there's always a few little things that get missed, and but we believe that we've kind of patched those up very quickly. If you have any issues, of course, let us know, and we'll get to those as soon as possible. But we did a hot fix last night for a couple of list issues, primarily counting and stuff like that, to count items, some of the lists. The reason that we saw some of those errors is because we worked on making the lists more efficient, loading faster, and also one of the first things that I want to talk about, which is the views, the ability now to save views on all the what we call the full lists. So the full lists are things like your items list, your customers list, and things like that. Every user was able to customize their own lists simply by coming in here and selecting their columns and whatnot and pressing save. Now, I have never even touched this contacts list. Well, I have, but I reset it. So it's really kind of the default view. And if I want, let's say if I add a column here, let's say portal access. So the minute I do that, there's now a kind of a save version in the database. And if I kind of go back to it, that save version will appear again. Okay. Now you'll see that I can delete that save version, or I could customize it. Okay, so let's say now I want to add a couple of more columns here, and I want to add, a filter that's just for active, and then I can go save as, and it gives me another dialog where I can provide a name. So let's say active contacts, and this creator only basically means that if I check that, I'm the only one, meaning that I'm the creator. I am the only one that could open up this list. If I leave that unchecked, then anybody that has access to view, let's say the contacts or any other record type, will be able to do that. So I'm just gonna not do that. Okay. And when I do that, my version appears, and I also see that I have this this dialog up here, which now has both versions of the saved lists. Okay, so when I navigate away from that, there's a cookie, for lack of a better words. Well, it's exactly a cookie, and I went to the wrong list. And we just remember the last list that you have open. Okay. So that is that. Now, if I'm not happy with it, I can kind of click here and delete it. If I delete it, it asks me, do I really want to delete it? Or I might want to just change. I might just want to change the name of it and make it a creator only, and then I can press save. If I press save as, it'll create another one. So I'll call this C2. And now you can see I have 3 versions of that. I don't need C2. I'm just going to delete that version. Okay. So I can delete it. I can save it as another version. The reset button will reset whatever version that I have open back to the default version. As though we've never touched this list before. Okay. So that is the save views, and I think that's a great feature because a lot of people have asked, particularly, it avoids for you having to continuously go and change your filters. By the way, you can also add a filter which I did actually on the second one here, which has that save view, and that also gets saved. Just a kind of, let's say you have a sales order and you only want to take a look at things that are, let's say, in a certain status, right? So I would come in here and I would pick my filter. So let's say I just wanted to take a look at anything that is approved, and I would go save as approved sales orders. And I'll go save that, and that's it. Right? So then I can just toggle between either one of those saved orders, either one of those views. Okay, so that's one of the kind of one of the added features that that we did. So next one we're going to talk about is the ability to do a ship doc and kind of have more control as to which items you want the ship doc to be created for. Okay, which items do we want the ship doc created for? So I'm going to go and click on one of my sales orders here, and just going to add a second item. There it is. I'll approve that so I can create a ship doc. Now, as you can see now, I have two buttons here. I have the ship doc, which will attempt to fill the entire order, or I can click this button and I can say, you know what, I just want to do this one. This gives me kind of, I can see that very clearly here, that I have availability of both really, but let's say I just want to, so I'm just going to go ahead and save that. And should give me a ship doc, right? So there's the ship doc for just that one item. Okay. So a normal ship doc, and that's about it. So let's go back to that sales order. Question. All right. Now I'm going to do another example here. And let's take another example. So in this example here, we have this ship doc. So this ship doc was already created. Should be a little thing to show the that I can close the sales order right from the ship doc. But I'm gonna skip that one. Maybe someone can tell me, Josh, someone else can tell me how to enable that. Okay, we're gonna go on to the next one here, which is the can make reports. So that can make relates to production, and it's now a table. So here it is. It's called can make by item. I can just kind of put it on there, and then there's just one field that says can make. And if you're not familiar with the concept of can make basically is, even if you don't have the inventory of the finished product already built, the can make number will tell you based on the components of how much you can make. So now we've added that to a report as well. And that's available not only on the BOMs, but I also believe it's available on the inventory status report, either by location or by item. So there it is by item. And then here's the can make by location. It's like I said, it's pretty simple. It's got one field. One
We
of the
have
Mhm.
oh, didn't mean to jump in, but we have two questions about the ship docs for specific items on the sales order.
Yep, go ahead.
Can we change the quantity of items sent on a ship doc when you select them to ship? So if there's an item and there's 3 of them, but you only want to send 2 on the ship doc, can you delineate that with the select items to
Try
ship?
right now. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it, but put that in as potential feature that we can
Potential.
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second question was, if you use a ship doc for selected items to ship out, can you then use that same ship doc at a later date to ship the remaining items that were not selected the first time?
Yeah. So that depends on your preference. So as you can see here in company preferences, all right, under shipping, there's a whole thing here that says when creating ship docs from sales orders. And these are the rules that are followed across the board. Add items to unshipped ship docs having the same customer. So that's one possibility, but probably you want to do this one over here. Add the items to unshipped ship docs from the same sales order, meaning they have to, the ship doc cannot be like marked as the status of the ship doc cannot be shipped or closed. Otherwise, a new ship doc will be created. Okay.
Perfect. And there was a question about the can make report, whether it can be used for kits, not just items that we use with the production tab.
That's a good question. I got to think. I don't know if we added that table to the kits area, but it's certainly something that I think the can make also takes into account kits. I know Josh is on; he can say yes or no. I think it does take into account kits, and so we'll make a note to add that to the tables where the kits are available.
Yeah, he said it does take into account kits.
Okay, good.
Okay, cool.
All righty. Okay, so this one is this one for some reason I can't get to show. There's a kind of a button. I can't get that to show, and it's the wrong button. Anyways, let's talk about the accounting restrictions that we've made. Some people have asked us for preventing certain users to be able to undo a sync. Okay, so if it's already kind of in the sync queue, they would be able to come in here and potentially undo the sync, which would cause problems for the accounting people. So we made that part of the role. So if the role has this, let's take a look at the roles. So we'll take a look, let's say over here at production. So this role does not have this checked, meaning that that role would not see that button. Okay, so that's kind of a new control feature. And however, we do have the ability to override that because a couple of people said, no, we need that regardless of whether they can manage accounting integration. And we have the ability to override that. So through kind of a hidden preference for now, we'll make that preference visible, but we have it now as a hidden company preference. We'll make it visible shortly. All right, so that is the this button here to provide access for that. You'll also see another little button here called a re-record. And we did make a couple of changes with regard to the ledger. One of these, or the kind of valuations, There's an article on that that goes into a lot more details that Michael can share with you, or Josh can share with you on the chat. But this is only accessible if you're an admin user. Okay. But that's only accessible if you're an admin user. And once we're talking about the valuation, we did come up with another preference, another routine that you can set what's called a closing period. The closing period basically will prevent any edits to any documents before this date. Okay, so obviously before you do this, you have to make sure that before you set the date, you have to make sure that all those documents are closed off. It will give you a warning if prevent you from doing that if you have any open documents. So that's a really nice feature. We do have to refine that a little bit because someone pointed out to me yesterday that the sales orders could be, especially now, could be allocated for months and months on end, and also the transfers can be in transit for more than months on end as well, related to supply chain issues. So we're going to have to a little bit more granular on that. Okay. The advantage of this setting the closing date is, one, obviously better controls. People can't backdate or any transactions. They can't change any transactions that are closed beyond that date. Okay. The other advantage is it does, because we don't have to read as much data, there is a performance enhancement as well.
Ian, for the bullet that was about closing the sales order from the ship dock, that small button,
Yeah.
it works from the ship dock when the ship dock is closed, but the associated sales order still has open items on it, open line items, but you've decided that you're not going to ship those open items yet, and so it clears them. That's the functionality of that button.
Right.
So the ship dock has to be closed, and the sales order has to still have an item on it that's not shipped yet.
Okay.
And that makes the button appear, and
okay.
then clicking it dumps that item basically.
All right. I think we have it on the receivers. Kind of show it because it's also pertinent for receivers.
Yeah. It's the same functionality.
So here, this is what should be showing in this purchase order. So I'm going to just link to this purchase order, and we expected to get a whole bunch of this. For whatever reason, we're not going to get these 6 open. We're not going to get it. Okay. So from the receiver, there's now a little kind of icon here, and I can click that. It says, "Are you sure you want to close all the remaining items on this purchase order?" I go, "Okay," and that's it. So now I don't have to navigate back to that, and now this is closed. Okay. It should be working on the sales order. I have to take a look at that, but it should be working on the sales order. Let's make a note of that.
Okay.
All right. A couple of other preferences here. Allocation. So we had a couple of requests that when something is allocated. So the way to work that is basically now when you set the status to approved, we can now allocate that. Okay. So there's a little bit of information on that. So basically you go into your preferences here, company preferences, and I believe it's in advanced. So here it is. So first of all, you have to enable allocation. And if you check this, this is automatically allocate when status is approved. So getting back to why we did this is in your e-commerce integrations, you have the ability to automatically change, to set the status. Okay. In your e-commerce integrations, you have the ability to automatically set the status. Okay, so that's where this is right here. Now, if you do that and you have allocation on and you have that preference checked, that'll automatically allocate the inventory from e-commerce or from EDI or from APIs if you also change the status or the status is changed to approved. Okay. So I hope that's pretty clear. One of these, so I'm going to talk about the quick bomb report really quick. It's pretty simple. We had a request when you create a sales order, and we had this in our desktop system for years, and people really liked it. So we added it to order time. So basically, if I add a bill of materials, I can also add the can make here now, by the way. There is a preference to do that. There it is right there. But I also maybe want to take a look at, show me which one of the components are not there. Okay, so this gives me basically a view of all my components that are in that BOM, and it tells me what's available, what's on order, and what's required, and what's on hand. So that quick BOM report can be accessed from the sales order itself, or it's also available now on the View Easy report from the bill of material itself. It's a very handy report, and of course you can link into any of the components here as well. All right. We talked a little bit about that. You also may have noticed this little box up here. It's the start of our global search, which is something that, so people, and it's really flexible. So we have a lot of, it really operates 100% from internal stored procedures. So it's something that, if something's missing, we can potentially add it. So if I wanted to add, look for someone's name, in this case, the matching, I have one contact and two customers that match that. Okay. At this time, it searches the following tables: vendors, items, customers, and contacts. But it can search things like aliases and vendor part numbers. We just have to kind of code it and customize it. So we welcome your feedback on this. It is also, we also have the intention to be able to search, document numbers and things like that. So it's the start of it. The reason we made it beta and kind of limited it for now, because it takes a while, if we're searching a lot of tables. So we kind of restricted it to this for now, but we have a lot of ability to customize this on a client per client basis. Talked a little bit about the closing. Okay, the closing period. Another thing that we've added is the ability to change the price level. Go back to my other view here. the ability to actually change the price level on a sales order itself. Okay. You know, right now, the price level, depending on the depending on the customer, the price level follows into the sales order. And before the update, it was impossible to change that on an order by order basis. So now we have the ability to do that. So I'm going to use my page layout here for my sales order. And I should see the price level right here. Okay. So I'm just going to put that right there for now. So going back to that sales order, I can now change that price level. And it asks you, do you want to recalc prices? I would press OK. And if I don't want to I just press cancel. Okay. Now on the sales order itself, there's a new preference that you can expose. Again, it's something that you have the ability to recalculate the pricing. So that's this little button right here. And go ahead and save that. And so if I go back to the sales order, I'll see a button here. All right. So this is if you're kind of, you know, constantly changing the prices on the items, or maybe this is a way to do that, especially now that, you know, sales orders kind of sit there, or maybe quotes kind of sit there for a while, and the costs have been updated, the prices have been increased. You want to recalculate that pricing for the quote. You have that ability. I'm just going to touch. This is another feature that was in all orders called the vendor RFQ. It's really request for quote from vendors. And I'm not going to get into an elaboration on how to use it, but it can be used now. If you're familiar with that, there's an article on it. I'm going to post it in the chat window here. And it's designed for companies that do a lot of procurement for their customers. Like a customer sends them, you know, here, find me the best prices on these 2,000 items. And then they go out and they, you know, go to this vendor and that vendor, et cetera, try to get some quotes from the vendors, get all the quotes from the vendors, and be able to finalize the quote for their customer. This is a tool that allows you to manage that process, sending and managing the quotes that come in back from the vendor. We've added a couple of things, kind of location filter for reorder analysis. We also added a filter. So down here, generally when we look at demand, okay, when we look at required, quote unquote required, we look at everything, work orders, sales orders. Now you can kind of slice and dice which one you want. Which one you want. So if you only want to take a look, if you have sales only work orders, you can do that as well. Talk about filters, I believe in the fulfillment batch. We've also added a filter, a status filter. Okay. So there it is down here. So obviously everything has to be approved first. So, but if you have different approval statuses, they'll all show up over here. So again, it's a further refinement of what you can do with the fulfillment batch in terms of statuses. We've added another alert type. The alert type that we added was, and this is run after change of promise date. Okay. So that's a very, for example, if you want to know, promise date has changed, maybe sales order or maybe a purchase order promise date has changed. You want, your salespeople to take a look at that and how it affects, the potential delivery date for the sales orders. That's a way of doing that, alerting people on the change in the promise date. Okay. Amazing. One of my favorite features of the new release is the ability now to know whether you've emailed or printed a document. So I'm going to just add a couple of things here to my purchase order. Okay. So there's a couple of new fields. One of them is called emailed. Actually, I'm going to put it into this details section here. So one of them is called emailed. All right, the other one is called printed. You can uncheck and check these if you want to kind of you can also put them as part of the alerts. Part of the role restriction. If you don't want people touching those, you can add those to the role restrictions. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And let's go to my purchase orders. Let's go to this purchase order. All right. Now there's another preference too. I just want to actually just go back to that before because it kind of relates to that. So let's go back to the preferences here. And general, under purchasing. So if I can also do this, change status to sent after sending an email. All right, so I want to do that too. So back to my purchase order. Now I'm going to go ahead so I can see here, in fact, has not been emailed. Let's do an email here. Just send it to myself. So status sent, button checked. I love that. Okay. Audit trail report. Proved a little bit of that as well. One of the things that we did kind of threw people off is the names. So now, let's say if QuickBooks updates a customer, you'll see the user being app and then QuickBooks. Or if a ship doc or sales order is imported from e-commerce, you'll see app and the name of the store as creating the sales order. So that's something. And we also did one other thing, that if a payment comes from a e-commerce, we'll also show that on the payment list now. So just so you know where to get that. That's the payments and refunds. And then there's a field called payment source. You can see here this is the B2B. That's where that's coming from. Our B2B store. Otherwise, it would just leave you fax and email. but you would see all those over there. Okay. Let's go back to reports. If I want to edit a report, one of my custom reports, I edit, I can change the name of the report right here. I don't like the name of this report, I want to change it. Instead of having to save as and delete the other one, you can now change the report. Now there's a lot of improvements. You know, these being able to move up and down the list of ship docs and you know, of ship docs as well. So now you can, so this little thing over here is available on not only sales orders. So this, if I wanted to move, I'm not going to do it for this ship doc because it's already closed. Let's look at this one over here. Oops. So I can move, you know, the line items. So if I wanted to move this one on top, I would just select the new line item, the new line number, and they would just basically change positions. So here, obviously, I can move it down below to the, it would basically supersede that line number. You want to take a look at that as well. Let's take some questions. Do we have any questions, Michael?
Yeah, we've been fielding some in the chat. There was one that was slightly off topic, and she asked, if you create an invoice from a ship doc, but it wasn't sent to an email address, is there a way to send that invoice created, or do you have to delete it and recreate a second version?
No, you just create an invoice from a ship doc, but it was.
Oh
wasn't.
Wait, Josh is answering it before we can even get to it. So when you go to send an email from the activity history tab, there's an attach files button, and you can click, and then in that pop-up you select the source, which would be the ship doc, to reattach. No, it's all good, Josh. We've been going back and forth on questions on chat. If there are any other questions, you can also unmute yourself and ask them, but you could or raise your hand using the raise hand feature, and we can get to you.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot in here. So. Quite a bit in here.
You're welcome. About adding the option to export bombs, definitely.
Okay, now there is a problem with this because the bombs are not indented. And since our bombs are a little complicated, it helps, but not much. So is it a possibility to make them indented?
So,
No,
so that you
well,
can export indented bombs?
Okay. We did that. You first have to go to the indented, not this one. That one's not indented. This one is, though. So if I go to the indented bomb report, you see this little thing right here? Export. Boom.
Yes, yes, I did that, but my bomb was not indented.
It is indented. It's just linear. It's just linear. It's still indented. See? There's the multiplier. This is the action. This is exactly what it shows on the screen. It just doesn't have these little spaces here. Is that what you're talking about? All right. And I guess we can take a look at that.
Yeah.
That's hard to do because it's linear, you know.
So it appears as if it's like flattened on the CSV.
But really, if you anything that doesn't have a 1 multiplier is indented, right? 1 means that it's on the first level, 2 means on the second level, 3 means it's on the 4th level, this is the 4th level.
I see, okay.
Okay. Can we add the option to move line items on our quotes as well?
Quotes should be there already. Should be there already.
Double check.
So there it is. There's that little button right here. Move line item on the quote.
Okay. So that was for that one. And then what report and filtering do you recommend for cycle counts?
Reports. This one right here. This report. So you start off, basically you have to create a new report because we don't have
There's no default one.
there's no default one, but I would come in here, I get the count, right? Count line items, location name, status, the items, okay? And then I, pick the columns. There's the doc number, etc. Location. Item name or number. There's that. Go back to the count line now. We have here, those are the custom fields. Now there's a lot number, if there's a lot number. Then we have quantity counted, quantity in system. And what I would suggest is that you make the doc number a section. And that way each one of these can have different, it's going to be a long report. I should have filtered by one or two. But you can filter by doc number.
It's going to be a big report.
It's not even.
Yeah, it's going to exceed the amount of rows.
Right. But let's say let's be smart about it, and let's go ahead and filter for one of my counts here. So let's say I want just count number 9. So I would filter doc number equals 9. Still going to be a pretty sizable report, but there it is. Okay. I can also, let's say I want quantity counted. Origin, a whole bunch of stuff in here. Okay, so that's how you do that. Any other questions on?
There were questions about recalculating the pricing on other documents, but Josh is going to take a look at that.
Okay.
Can you do the moving of line items on sales orders as well? Does it have to be in a particular status to move the line items on the sales order? Or is it okay.
It has to be processing.
Processing.
Yeah, because otherwise you're locking the sales order.
Yeah, locking it in. Okay, and then
like everybody, I'm sure, have seen this already. Just kind of better organizing that.
Yeah, being able to collapse the menus for the reports. Are there any other changes in this revision that you guys want to go over? You can put it in chat, or Like you can just tell us the number of the revision and we can just go through real quick.
Oh,
coming
one
up
thing
on
I did
time.
want to point out. I did want to point this out. This is
Mhm.
important. People have asked, particularly in a dependency where you only see the document and not every single item, like on the purchase order, right? So let's say I do it. Let's see, I'll prove this. That's for this, so that doesn't show it. Create link POs. So on this listing, you cannot see the item. You can only see the document. In order, and it's only for this, for the sales order, because on the purchase order side, I could see the item. There it is. So in order to, and that's used in a couple of different places, so we didn't want to touch that. But if you go to your details, your edit layout, and go to your sales order, you'll see, you're going to have to do that, revert to default. You'll see another thing called dependency item. So now we see the item name here. It's almost identical to this, except that it shows the item name. And this is more of a dependency. This is the actual documents. And actually, you can email these documents right from here. That's why we have this just on documents by itself. Any questions on that?
So, okay, to Nancy's point or Sam's point, if you've already switched the sales order to approved and you try to flip it back to processing, I think that's when you don't see the ability to move the line items on the sales order. But when it's first in processing and you're adding multiple items to it, you're
Right.
able to switch the line number. Like you're able to move the line around.
Okay. Well, it's something that definitely we can take a look at.
Yeah, we can take a look at it. If,
Couple
switching the status backwards.
Couple of new filters, date filters too. I don't know if everybody has seen that. So we have tomorrow and the days of the week. I think people have asked for definitely tomorrow and the days of the week. Some people get orders just on Tuesday. Every Tuesday they get an order, so they just want to see what. And that's, by the way, that also works from the lists as well. It also works from the lists. These are only sales orders that have a date of Wednesday.
Yeah, I got to add that to the KB article too. We have it for the report where you can set it as today or tomorrow and then the days of the week, but I got to add that. I didn't realize you could filter it on the list view too. Very cool, very cool. Is drill down still available? Yes. Okay, and then the other question about the quick build was answered by Josh. Okay, it looks like we're good.
Go ahead, closes up, Michael.
Hold on, maybe off topic. Can we make it so that changes on a ship doc get transferred to a sales order or vice versa?
Which changes? Like if you, for example, like custom fields and
Like last minute shipping changes, etc. We might have to answer that in shipping address. So if you change the shipping address in the ship doc, you want it to change on the sales order. He said correct.
Okay, well, that's a feature request.
That's a feature request. Okay. Thank you for asking it though, Ryan. And then Jad asked a question about the reports that you were just looking at. What about date filter of a trailing number of days?
A date filter of a trailing number of days. Like how many days?
Sounds like he wants to be able to select how many days. Oh, he's saying 2 to 3 in his particular use case.
I mean, the closest we have is next week. It's probably the closest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The closest filter we have to that is next week. So that's what we have right now.
I guess that could be feature request territory too.
So I think next week which basically it's the next 7 days from today.
He said last week resets on Sunday, so I can't see the previous.
All right. Well, we're gonna, as usual, we're gonna have a whole kind of article. This webinar has been recorded. And we're gonna post the recording and add whatever notes that we went through today. Probably in the next couple of days, you'll also get some emails from us about certain things, particularly about the customer portal, our customer portal.
Yes.
Where you can look at tickets.
Yeah, so I'll be sending out an email after this that it'll have the video recording, it'll have notes on what we discussed. I'll have all the links to the different KBs that we talked about during this. And then I'll also be sending out another email blast that's about our customer portal. Currently, you may have received an email back in December when we launched it, but it was in beta and it connects our ticketing system. So that what you can do is log in, see all the tickets that your company has open with us, and create a ticket directly from that interface. And I'm going to send out another email that explains it in better details so that everyone can get signed up for it and see what tickets they have open with our support team. And that's pretty much it. What's that?
That's it. That's good.
Okay. All right. And Jad, I will add that as a feature request. I copied it.
And then I guess someone, Josh or Michael, you'll make notes of that little button that wasn't whatever kind of couple of things that people have remarked on.
Yeah, I've got a slew of notes, and then I'll get back to you about it.
Okay. All right, everybody. Everybody have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good one.